A society full of teens, a doctor with a lengthy wait list, and a massive need for pool floaties. Follow us down the rabbit hole as we theorize how the world would look if there were only 1,000 people left on Earth. To complete our thought experiment, let's imagine that the entire population of 1,000 people was living together in one place. Even with everyone packed together, people would be rightly concerned about obtaining food. Data from the World Bank shows that the number of farmers worldwide has declined from 44% of the world's population in 1991 to 27% in 2019. In its analysis of this problem, the BBC states that young people have spurned agriculture as a livelihood, citing hard work for little reward. The shortage of farmers contributes to food insecurity problems throughout the globe. This means that in our imagined post-apocalyptic world of 1,000 people, only about 270 are farmers. The American Farm Bureau Federation says that in the United States, only 2% of the population are farmers and ranchers who produce a food surplus. So if agricultural technology is maintained, it's likely that humanity won't starve. Yet maintaining current levels of technology with such a low population may be impossible, with research showing that the population size and rate of technology growth are positively linked. With so few people who know how to use farming equipment or even the basics of growing food, productivity could easily collapse.
This is what farmers do.
Well then, maybe I'm not a farmer.
Demographically, a world with a random but representative assortment of 1,000 people around the world would skew young. World demographic data collected by the United Nations shows that the median age of humans worldwide is 30. The UN's data on percentages of people by age group also reveals what can be expected to translate in a world of 1,000. For example, 22.2% of the world's population were between the ages of 0 and 4 in 2021. This would translate to 222 of the post-apocalyptic world of 1,000. This young society becomes clearer since 52.8% of the world's population is between the ages of 0 and 19, which translates to 528 people. Looking at the other end of the age spectrum, there would be relatively few elders. Those over 65 years of age comprise only 4.8% of the population, meaning that there would be 48 of these older cohorts in the world of 1,000 people. But the fact that society will be young might be a good thing. The UN tells us that countries with young populations have accelerated economic growth, though they also tend to be politically unstable. The few older people will hopefully come to be treated as respected elders based on their experience, and perhaps this would help stabilize the 1,000-person world.
You're a strong young boy. Show some respect for the elderly and carry your grandfather's bag.
Good idea!
As for planet Earth itself, it would no doubt be thankful for a 1,000-person world. The fact is that with so few humans, all the environmental stresses caused by people would virtually vanish. Disruptor explored the question as to what would happen if all humans vanished in an interview with Associate Professor Mike Weston from Deakin University. He predicts that while wildlife would quickly repopulate the planet, domesticated animals might die out. In addition, populations of animals like rats, pigeons, and seagulls that are not domesticated but have thrived in symbiosis may suffer population shocks. Still, on the whole, Professor Weston imagines a healthier world. When considering how depopulated areas such as Chernobyl ecologically recovered with humans absent, it is easy to picture. With only 1,000 people around, there would hardly be a single person in this society equipped with the skills to hack out a living in the wilderness. In 2018, the Proceedings of the National Academy of Science published an article that studied hunter-gatherer populations. They estimated that there are about 10 million people divided among 300 different hunter-gatherer societies. In a world with 8 billion people, this equates to roughly 0.125% of the world's population. When this percentage is applied to a population of 1,000, they would consider themselves lucky if there was even a single individual with a hunter-gatherer background. This lack of traditional skills might endanger the entire population. Of course, some people who are not hunter-gatherers learn survival skills such as those in Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. However, the number of scouts are even fewer than hunter-gatherers, so humanity may be doomed unless it can find a DVD of Bear Grylls shows. If you're one of the 1,000 people left on Earth, you would naturally be concerned about maintaining your health, so you'd hope there'd at least be a few among the population who were doctors.
Is there a doctor? We need a doctor!
However, World Bank data tells us that there are about 1.6 physicians per 1,000 people. So while this means that there would be at least one doctor, that person would have 999 patients. Then there is the problem of what kind of doctor it is. While there is no clear data worldwide, in the United States, the Association of American Medical Colleges shows that the largest specialty is internal medicine, followed by general practice. This means that the odds are that the physician in the post-apocalyptic world would be a generalist, which is probably the most useful for minor issues. But in a world where the knowledge of modern medicine has essentially been wiped off the planet, even small issues would quickly become big problems, as life-saving basics like antibiotics run out. A world with 1,000 people would also have a large number of people with disabilities. The World Health Organization, or the WHO, claims there are 1.6 billion people in the world today with a disability. However, disabilities occur on a spectrum from moderate to severe, such as blindness or deafness, trouble conducting basic activities such as walking or eating, or facing restrictions from participating in human activities. Since the WHO lumps so many people with different levels of disabilities together, the 1.6 billion translates to about 20% of the world's population, or 200 persons in a world of 1,000. On one hand, their outcome may be grim, as some societies like ancient Sparta rid themselves of children perceived to be less than perfect by leaving them to die through exposure. On the other hand, in the 1,000-person world, such visibility might make disabilities normalized and society could work harder to accommodate them. In a world with 1,000 people, one of the chief difficulties would be language barriers. There are over 7,100 languages spoken in the world today, but the language website Ethnologue points out that the vast majority of people are speakers of only a handful of them. This means that the 1,000-person world will possibly face a breakdown in communication unless everyone agrees on one common language. There are 1.5 billion English speakers in the world, which is almost 19% of the world's population, while Mandarin Chinese comes in at 1.1 billion, which is almost 14%. Thus, in a world of 1,000 people, 190 individuals would speak English and 140 would speak Chinese. The third most spoken language is Hindi, which comprises 7.5% of the world's population. Therefore, in a world of 1,000, there would be 75 Hindi speakers. From there, other languages would be spoken by fewer and fewer people, isolating those speakers from many other survivors. Since the beginning of time, humans have waged war upon each other for a multitude of reasons. With that said, one might expect that in a 1,000-person world, a fair number of people who come from a random sampling of humans today would be of military ilk. The truth is rather surprising. World Bank shows that in 2019, 27.6 million people were service members of the armed forces around the world. This equates to 0.35% of the world's population. Thus, in a world of 1,000 people, there may or may not be one person who is active in the military. However, there would likely be a veteran or two. Does this mean a world without war? There's always hope. A Rutgers University Newark study published in Scientific American agrees that while humans certainly kill on an individual basis, war is not an innate trait. The author writes, "War is fostered by culturally specific systems of knowledge and values that generate powerful meanings of us versus them. And in a 1,000-person world, is there really much of a them to speak of?" One key skill for those who want to survive is swimming. Regrettably, in a world of 1,000 people, most would be unable to swim. Gallup analyzed a Lloyd's Register Foundation World Risk Poll and found that 55% of humans aged 15 and older could not effectively swim. If we assume those younger than 15 are even less likely to have learned how to swim, that means only a few hundred people know how to swim in a 1,000-person world.
Help me! I can't swim! I'm drowning! Oh God, I'm drowning! What the? Oh.
Interestingly, and what demonstrates a small example of the inequality between different countries of the world today, the swimmers in this world would mainly come from countries that were wealthy before the apocalypse. The data shows that 76% of people from high-income countries know how to swim, as compared to 27% from poor countries. Even in wealthy countries, research shows there's a big difference between whites and minorities, as the latter are less likely to have learned how to swim. What is more, there would be a sex divide among swimmers. Around the world, 57% of men can swim compared to only 32% of women. All of this data shows that in a world of 1,000 people, humanity would be far better off setting up inland rather than the ruins of something like a former seaside resort. If there were 1,000 people in the world, most people would follow a religion, but there would likely be only 3 to choose from. The Pew Research Center conducted a study concerning the breakdown of religions by size as a portion of the world's population. They found that of the different religions, Christianity, Islam, and Hinduism were the most dominant, being practiced by 31.5%, 23.2%, and 15% of the population, respectively. If these percentages are applied to a population of 1,000 people, this means that a little over 310 people would be Christian, a bit over 230 Muslim, and 150 individuals Hindu. Other religions would be much smaller. For example, by applying the Pew percentages, there would be just over 70 Buddhists and 20 Jewish people in a world of 1,000 persons. People who practice various folk religions, which may include native traditions throughout the world, would account for about 59 people. With statistics like these, society would be religiously pluralistic, but the long-term notion of peaceful toleration may be remote, since multiple religions in one place is usually cause for trouble. For example, in the 20th century, Lebanon ran a republic represented by blocks of Christians and Muslims. In 1975, differences between the groups proved to be insurmountable, resulting in a civil war that lasted for over a decade, killing over 100,000 people. When looking at a world of 1,000 people, one may wonder what the ethnic makeup of such a society would be. But ethnic makeup is not always easily measured, so what might be a little more accurate is measuring from where people originated. Statista provides a breakdown by continent of the world's population. In its analysis, it places 59% of the world's population in Asia, with nearly 18% from Africa. In the hypothetical 1,000-person world, this would mean that 590 come from Asia and 180 from Africa. Representation from the other continents would be quite small. For example, there would be only 47 people from North America and 93 people from Europe. The 1,000-person world would be genetically diverse at first. This would be helpful in the long run, since a 1,000-person population would result in a genetic bottleneck. Over time, these initial survivors will have children, and eventually there will be interbreeding. Genetic diversity will start to diminish, and the population would become susceptible to disease and find it harder to adapt. In the long run, humanity may be doomed to some future disease to which it cannot adapt.